Okay. Hopefully everybody's okay with that. There are people who couldn't show up. Who asked them.
Hi,
Hi.
this is Ingrid.
Hi, Ingrid. It's so good to hear your voice and see your
Yeah, hi, Katja.
Oh,
How are you?
wonderful to see you. Hi,
Yeah, great to see you, Becky.
Hi, Carol and Jean. Hi, Steffi and Denny. Hi, Laura and Ron. Hi, Jill. Hi, Mira. Sharon, you made it. Hi. You're muted. You can... Hi, Stephanie.
Lauren,
So good to see you.
I don't know if you remember my husband, Dan.
Hey, Lauren, Ron.
Hi. Oh, Lee, hi. Hi, Tommy. Hi, Jill.
Diane.
Thanks for coming. Thank you all for coming. Hi, Marianne. Thanks for coming. Nancy.
Hi,
Hello.
Nancy.
Oh, why is Jules gone? Okay. I'm gonna mute. Where am I? Can you yes? Where?
Oh. Must have put.
Wait, can I?
Doing this on your phone. So was it a text? Or can you tell on his phone?
Julius? Hi, so you just go to the Zoom link. If you have Zoom installed on your phone, it'll open up. All right, so just click on the link, it'll open up. Okay, all right.
Okay. So where are we? Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, I turned our sound off.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. This is really, really wonderful to honor my mom, who was the sweetheart of the world. So I guess, Linda, this is as good a time as any to start. What do you think?
I think this is as good a time as any to start, and
Okay.
more people will come in as we go, but it's definitely a good time to start. So I'm going to start with just a technical announcement, and I hate to have, like, the idea of starting an event by telling people to mute is really awful, but please mute. And we've been getting feedback when there are too many open mics in the same place, and it's just, it will be better to be muted. There will be time during this memorial service where you'll have the opportunity to talk and to share your memories and your thoughts. And when that time comes, you will please unmute. For the moment, stay muted. So introduce myself. I'm Linda Holtzman. And I had the pure pleasure of knowing Betty for several years. And you're right, Diane, that she was just a truly loving, truly caring, just delightful person. Everybody I mentioned her passing to said, "Oh, she was so lovely." Because she was, and out in the world, it was just crystal clear. So we're here today to celebrate her life, to celebrate the life of Betty Gottlieb, and to join together in pure gratitude for the years of her life. When we look at Betty's life, we see intelligence, deep intelligence, and joy, and kindness, and curiosity, and deep, deep caring. We see profound love of her family and friends. We see a beautiful and rich life. We understand that there can be no loss without love, no joy without sorrow. And today, as we remember Betty, we hope that we will remember and accept the all of her life, the joy and the sorrow, the love and the loss, as we remember her. The poem I'm sharing is Epitaph. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And now we watch some of Betty's life.
Actually, Mark, before you start that, if you wouldn't mind giving me a couple more minutes just to say hi to everybody. I can't believe how many people are here that I haven't said hello to. So if I would just quickly like to say thank you to, I'm so moved that all of you took the time out from so many aspects of my mother's life, like all through my life, from the near past to when I was a child. There's actually somebody, probably a couple of the people who've known me the longest, including Jesse and Lewis and Carrie Ager and Carrie Lachine and the Gershenfelds and the Tobins and the Levin extended families, who've really known me and David our whole lives. And of course, all our friends, and colleagues, and Ingrid, who spent so much time with mom, and John, and who spent so much time with mom, and Teresa, who helped her get back to the piano, and Barbara, who helped her with yoga, and some of her yoga classmates are here, her chair yoga classmates, and of course, family members, Nancy and Helen and Craig and Donna and Ira, I saw, and of course my colleagues and mentors, Barbara and Alan, and I saw Mary Ann, and is Sue here, and Jill, my colleague, and of course my great friends, my Mount Airy buds, and people who have grown with me, and mom, Laura and Ron, and Carol and Jean, and and Lori and Mira, and
Yeah, there's a lot.
I forgot to mention Carol Gold, and I see Dave Wagner came, who's known me since my medical school days, and of course Sharon and Jimmy, who've known me since I was a teenager, and Tommy, who's known me since I was a junior high schooler, and Ruthie, who helped me all thrive in our lives together at Temple and beyond, and has become a great friend. And of course, Liz, who we've known since moving back in the neighborhood, and Lee, my good colleague. And who else? Oh, I see Alexandria. Thank you for coming. Oh, and Jill and Kayla are here. Thank you. Another family member. And Carol Gold, I don't think I mentioned, who's our families have known each other for such a long time. and Jay and Barbara Tobin. And then Gina, who worked with my dad and knew us and helped really reconnected with my mom and Katya and me and Mark when we moved back and moved in with my mom, and has been a part of our lives. And Julius, who kept her looking beautiful all these years, has been a great friend. So who else have I missed, Katya? Annie, how could I miss you? You've probably, you knew my parents before I existed. You're famous. And of course, we have that famous story of you running up and punching my dad in the gut on roller skates when you were about 7 or 8. So, and Annie Ginsberg Hopkin has known me my whole life. She was part of my early stories, she and her sisters, Jeannie and Ellen, but her mom interned with my dad and was an MCP graduate, Mickey Ginsberg, who went on to be a great obstetrician at Beth Israel. And her dad, Al, started our Hebrew school that Louis had the fortune to go to, and Neil and Joel and Alan along with us, and Al married us. So all kinds of connections from a long time. And I see Vivian joined, our relative, our cousin Vivian, and then lots of, and Carol, and Marianne Delaney's here. Thank you for coming. And Elizabeth Vincent, thank you for joining us, and Barbara Steinberg as well. And then some of Katya's friends,
Yeah.
Jamie and Liz.
And Betsy and Laura.
Oh, and there's Christy. Thank you all. All right. We'll get back to this. I hope I hope I haven't missed anyone. Oh, I see Alexandria and Janice. Oh, this is really wonderful. Thank you for coming and helping us celebrate my mother's life. So Mark, now you can get started. I promise to try not to interrupt yet again.
Pardon? It's recording and there's photos along with it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was so beautiful. And just, yeah, that was her. Thank you. So I'd first like to ask David and Becky and Leo to each share your thoughts, your memories, whatever words you would like to share.
Okay. Just need the computer. So again, nice to see everybody. A lot of feelings, particularly the last couple days, digging through old computers to find pictures and boxes to find pictures and whatnot, and kind of reliving other parts of mom's life and memories from that. And you know, in view of the last year, frankly, wasn't the best year of her life, I don't think, by any means, because of COVID restrictions and not being able to be with her in person very much, you know, until the very end. And, you know, there'll always be just, you know, feelings about whether, well, just that we wished that last year could have been better than it was. But, you know, looking through all that, she had a very long life. I hadn't, you know, Diane and I each threw pictures at each other, and I hadn't seen a lot of hers, and she hadn't seen some of mine. So it just reminds you of everything that has gone by, and you know, why we miss not having her around already, and being able, well, I would call just about every night and see how things are going if the phone got answered. So that's about all. She lived a mostly happy life. Like all of them, it had its moments of tension, it had its moments of exhilaration, and you know, just will miss her a lot for those reasons. I was thinking about what to say for a while, but as you'll see later on, particularly in the last year, mainly interactions are improvised. And that's what this one is too. So forgive any hesitations. And let me go on to Becky.
Okay, I would like to speak to Betty's generosity. As the daughter-in-law, I felt her warmth and generosity immediately. And when I think of her generosity, I think of how generous she was in supporting the educational aspirations of many family members. Then she even supported the institutions that many of us had attended. Betty also was, you know, she was very charitable and certainly gave so much to Philadelphia. She supported the Free Library, she supported the Art Museum, she supported the Philadelphia Orchestra. Betty also showed her generosity toward social justice causes and organizations that supported women. Now we get into even more generosity, where every time Betty took a trip or went to a craft fair or went to the flower show, she brought something back to share with others. So I can look around my house and see, you know, many souvenirs from places, or, you know, just really cool pots or things that an artisan had made. And I can walk in my garden and see many plants that she gave me that have flourished. Then, of course, the last thing, anyone who ever had a meal at Betty's house would know how generous she was with her food and her servings. And I think, I remember one Passover Seder where there were multiple kinds of gefilte fish and matzo ball soup and vegetables and brisket. And we got to the part of the service with Dayenu. And we said, if she had just given us the matzo ball soup, it would have been enough for us. If she had just given us one type of gefilte fish, it would have been enough for us. So I will always think of Betty's generosity.
Okay, my speech is pretty short and sweet. So I'm going to start off by saying that Betty was a wonderful grandmother. She was full of joy every time I visited her. And my Bubby was a great listener. She gave me great advice on a wide array of situations, from school to work to social situations. I mean, she was a voice of wisdom in my life. And I really loved taking her out to dinner after I finished college. We'd go out to dinner all the time. We hit up all the restaurants around Philly. She was also a spectacular cook and gardener. This past year and a half was tough with her in the hospital. It's never fun to watch someone suffer after a stroke. But aside from the last year and a half, she lived an excellent life centered around family and professional and academic achievement. And I will always miss her and the memories we share.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to welcome Bob Cafaro and invite you now, Bob, to share your cello.
Okay, I'm unmuted, I presume. Okay, I just, before I say a few words, my cellist says a few words, rather, I'd just like to say that I've had the honor and privilege of knowing the Gottliebs for many years. I had the privilege of being Leo's cello teacher from way back, and I got to know the Gottliebs very well. And David and I became very good friends. He would come to the lessons. We would talk politics as we were on the same path. And I got to know Betty because Betty was a great lover and supporter of the Philadelphia Orchestra, of which I'm a member since 1985. And I would have the honor of seeing Betty at the concerts at intermission. And it was so great. And, I'm so appreciative of everything she did to make this world a better place, and she'll be missed. So in her honor here, I'd like to play, this is the Sarabande from the third unaccompanied cello suite by Johann Sebastian Bach, or maybe should I play the prelude to the first cello suite? I'll play the prelude to the first cello suite. Okay, it's more upbeat and this is a joyous occasion, so.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That was so beautiful and such
Thanks,
a
Bob.
way to honor Betty. Just perfect. Thank you. I'd like to invite Mark and Katja and then Diane to share your thoughts.
So I'm going to go first here. Betty lived with us for 20 years after Harry died, and almost as much as I lived with my parents in the first 20 some odd years of my life. It was 20 really good years. We got along really well. And I want to mention two things about her that always struck me. One is that she saw the good in everything. If she went to a play or a concert or an art show, she would come back talking about the good things that she saw. Sometimes after a show we had seen together, we saw a stinker of a play, but she would find something good in it. It's not that she was uncritical, because when she was working on something, she was very critical of her own work and wanted to make it really good and was very detail oriented. But I think she decided that the best way to get through life was to find the good in things. And perhaps it's a reaction formation to something in our culture, which tends to put too much emphasis on fetching, so much so that we have a great name for it. I think she decided she was not going to go through life as a fetch, and she was going to find happiness that way. And the second thing is she didn't want to miss anything. You know, whatever it was, if there was another wing of a museum, we were going to go see that too. Katja was like that. Disneyland, Katja was at 3 years old. She was up for 12 hours straight. She didn't want to miss anything. It particularly came to meals. If she could order an assortment, that's what she would do. If she couldn't order assortment, then the family would have to share plates around. And one of the things I learned when I joined this family is to learn how to duck as the plates were flying, because once I did get hit by something that was coming through as we were passing things back and forth. And I also learned to eat my portion of my dish quickly, because by the time it came back to me, there would be nothing left. And it's just the sign she just did not want to miss anything. She wanted a taste of everything. And there were such wonderful qualities. And she lives a life that in many ways inspired me, including by taking up a musical instrument late in life, which she didn't, or retaking it up, as she did, as I'm doing now. So I'm very grateful for all those years with this loving, generous, wonderful woman.
You next.
Okay, I'll go next.
And you kept her laughing, always.
I've been thinking a lot about what I wanted to say here and having trouble finding words that, oh, what's going on? There's something horrible happening.
Okay, I think we're gonna leave that one.
It just means everyone else that needs to be muted in the house except you.
Okay.
We're already separated ourselves.
Separated and muted.
From Mark and everyone else.
And So I've been having trouble finding words that I feel like good enough. And yesterday I took this writing class. Oh, could you go away? Mute. And yesterday I took a writing class, and in it, one of our prompts was to describe someone as a mythical character. And so that is what I have tried to do. My bubby had white hair that turned every light on, that shined light on a whole room, a whole gathering of people that lasted for 8 days and nights, and even longer too. She had cheeks like August tomatoes that smelled just as good, just as sweet, just as invited, that wanted to be kissed. She moved slowly unless she was late, when she took off like a bat out of hell. I will picture her always on the floor of the Kimball Center, her cane clacking against the tile, her little body gliding somehow through the dwindling crowd. I will picture her at her window-facing seat at the kitchen table, at the long head of the living room table for Passover, in the corner of her couch watching Masterpiece Theater, or dwarfed by her giant bed and surrounded by books, newspapers, a tissue box, 3 pairs of glasses. I will picture her in one of many hats walking through the garden, delighted by every plant and creature. Her skin glistened impossibly from many creams and potions which she kept in the mirrored bathroom cabinet. Once we flew to Maine for Leo's graduation less than a year after her world-changing stroke. When we got to the airport in Portland, the TSA guys made her stand up, move away from her wheelchair so they could pat her down, check her for any bombs she might have brought hidden away in the folds of her clothes. We shared a room that night, 2 tiny people sleeping in a big bed, and at night she stretched out, seemed to move diagonally across the mattress, squishing me into a corner with the pillows at the top of the bed, and then she started kicking me in the middle of the night. In the morning, she had no idea, and she giggled as I showed her my toenail-inflicted wounds, and then she kissed them all, each wound, and me 1,000 times. My bubby had a collection of leaves she found beautiful on her cluttered bathroom counter. She had a collection of menus I brought her from restaurants she never went to and never would, but whose food she wanted to imagine all the same. When I had described my friend's gender, far outside the binary, she said, "Oh, that's so lovely." When I showed her my tattoos, she touched them with her cold, wrinkled fingertips and called them beautiful. Bubby loved anything you loved and would sit through impromptu plays, hours-long graduations, and any musical performance so without complaint that you thought she could think of nothing she wanted more than to be there watching you. She trekked along to beaches and waterfalls and pools even though she was terrified of the water, and though she always wore her little beach shoes and never got in past her ankles, she encouraged your exploration, not wanting her fears to become yours. My grandmother was full of fears, but she didn't let them stop her. There's a reason why every one of her family members want to speak today, and it's not because we're mouthy, although of course we are, but because there is so much to say about her, and we can only hope to share a loving glimpse. From her, I know I have gotten small feet, big cheeks and big boobs, curly hair, an ability to love hugely, a hearty amount of vanity, a sense of style and individuality, a deep curiosity, incredible stubbornness, a strong sense of justice, a furious hunger for food and art, and a desire to be completely enmeshed in the world. The thing about writing my grandmother as a mythic creature is that she was a mythic creature, and so no imagining is necessary, and all you can do is write the truth of her, which was some kind of wild magic and an impossible capacity to love. I miss her. That she is gone seems impossible still, and isn't that a kind of wonder, to have left a mark so strong on this world that it doesn't even feel like you are really gone? I hope it never does. Your turn.
Well, that was clearly a mistake in order. So I have nothing more to add to that, except of course, like Katja said, we all talk. So I will say a couple words. Everything everybody said rings so true. David's so right. The last 15 months in particular were particularly difficult, but she was an amazing woman, and people have written and talked to me this week and recently about, we've all talked about her joy, about never running out of food, certainly about her unconditional love, being present, being a listener, noticing things, really paying attention.
Diane, there's something not working in your speaking. We're not hearing you clearly.
You're not hearing
Now we
Oh,
are.
now we are.
Now we are.
me? I apologize. Okay, so So there's just so many words that can describe her, and I do think that she, you know, she was born in 1927 around the Depression and lived through all kinds of adversity in this country, the war and everything, you know, many wars, a lot of racial and social injustice. And she was attuned to all of it and always trying to work hard to do what she could in the world to make it a better place. I mean, as Becky said, the way I like to think of her is not is actually akin to something that to a phrase we use, a term we use in my line of work, which many people on this call will appreciate, which is the the idea of the good enough mother. But my mom wasn't only the good enough mother, which is the mother who allows you to explore, as Katja was talking about, and but doesn't push so hard that you're unsuccessful, but opens the way. She was the good enough person, um, for everybody that she touched. And it was amazing. I mean, even in this horrible time when we weren't able to see her for long periods, everybody, it seemed like everybody that was taking care of her loved her. And that was a true skill to have that happen when she was in such dire straits herself. Um, and she did find things to appreciate every single day. After, you know, in addition to her own accomplishments before David and I were born, and then redoing her whole PhD when I went to high school and college. She, after my dad died, when I thought, oh God, this is not going to go well, she really, I mean, she epitomized resilience when we found the house and we all moved in together. We're able to move in together, and I was lucky enough to find her the most amazing piano teacher in Teresa, and she renewed. She was an amazing pianist as a child, but after 6 or 7 decades, I guess by then, of not playing, of simply watching her children play and sometimes playing duets, she really hadn't played, even though she enjoyed music so much. And by the way, Bob, she loves many composers, but there was always a special place in her heart for Bach. So thank you for that lovely, lovely piece. And then having her, she had the most amazing, after her, even her stroke, and she lived with us for a decade and then had a stroke that slowed her down, but she got right back on it. And John Lockard, her physical therapist, can tell you more than anyone, as can Barbara Levitt, who I found for her to do chair yoga with, and her classmates in chair yoga, that she just was not, she may have been slower, but she wasn't going to stop. And the same was true really right up until the end. I think if she could have found a way to come home and do more, she would have done it. So I thank you all for, it means so much to me to have so many people here from so many different aspects of my life and her life, of our lives, and who really appreciated her. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. David, can I ask your saxophone to share some of its thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So as before, particularly the last few months, I mean, I would get on and I would start to play for her. And sometimes when she was particularly with it, she would, I said, you want me to keep playing? And she would nod, give a big nod and smile. sometimes I would play Bach for reasons that should be obvious. I will not be playing Bach today because it will not reflect well in my playing ability. Bob used to tell jokes to me about, and I don't remember exactly, but it had saxophones and chainsaws in them. He's a string player though, so anyway, so this is kind of what it would be like. It would get on, and I would try to spin something forward for her. We traveled a lot together after Harry died, and went to a lot of places, and so this was sort of another travel, even though she couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I still understand why she wanted you to keep playing. That was really very beautiful. Thank you. I'd like to invite Jessie to share some words. All right.
My name is Jessie Yeager, and I have known Betty for about 60 years. I remember meeting her when David and Louis were together at Miquon, and they became very good friends and visited each other at our houses. And everything I wanted to say about Betty, someone has already said. Her generosity, her openness to inviting you for dinner, her loving to cook, her loving beautiful things, and supporting all the craft and art places that she loved, the orchestra, the art museum. I can't even begin to name them, because if she met someone, an artist, and they needed something, if she could, she would get it for them and help them support themselves. although the boys went to different middle schools and high schools, Betty and I continued to see each other. Sometimes often, sometimes less often, as our lives became entangled in other things. But we went to the plays at the Annenberg together, the flower show, the ballet, the art museum, and always the craft shows from the art museum. And Betty had beautiful taste in everything, as you could see from her home, from her clothes, from her kitchen cooking, from her what her children wore and did, and the beautiful people that they were, as well as her son-in-law and daughter-in-law. If I had she was also, she had a wonderful sense of humor and a wonderful laugh. I always enjoyed hearing her laugh, but she could get angry with somebody and lose her temper if they did something she thought was antisocial, racist, or anything else that she disagreed with. And I love that about her because I'm the same way. If I had a problem, she was one of the people that I could share it with. And she had very good ideas about how to behave in that such kind of situation. I loved her very much, as I loved Harry and Katja and David, whom I've known also for a long time, and their spouses. And I love all of you. That's it. And I miss Betty forever.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to share some words with you, some of my thoughts, and then open up for anyone who still has something left that's burning, because there is so much to share about Betty. I'm a rabbi, and Betty would sometimes come to my services, and the most extraordinary moment I thought was a service that she couldn't get to, where the elevator broke. She was in a wheelchair. It was Yom Kippur, and she wanted to come up to services. And I felt terrible because she just couldn't get there. And when we said to her, Betty, I'm like so sorry, she smiled and said, that's fine. I'll go home and it'll be on the computer. I can watch it there. And she just smiled so graciously and so lovingly. In Pirkei Avot, in Ethics of Our Ancestors, we read that if it weren't for three things, the world would collapse. Three things hold up the world. Those things are Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. The world stands on learning, on sacred service, and on deeds of loving kindness. In other words, for her entire life, Betty has been instrumental in holding up the world. Learning, well, rarely do we find a person who embodied learning in the way that she did. Imagine a 15-year-old who graduates from Girls High, continues on to college, to a master's, to a PhD program, who, when she started kindergarten, was thought of as, oh, she must not be very smart because she spoke Yiddish, and others didn't understand the language that she spoke. Imagine that same person loving learning so much that in her 60s, she goes back to get a PhD, even though the fields that she was in science had changed so much. So she learned something new. Learning was such pleasure for Betty. Completing it and then going on to a postdoc. The world, I think, is a very sad place that they couldn't imagine somebody her age being worthy of hiring for every single possible position that someone with her abilities could be hired. But that's the world, and they didn't all know Betty. Imagine someone who loved Miquon when she sent her children there so much that she, of course, began to teach there, who was thrilled when Katja went to Mi'kwan, and you described her to me as the Queen of Grandparents Day. I'm sure that was true. And imagine how many of us would manage, if we had a stroke, as she did in 2009, to go back to learning piano after that. Learning all that she loved just mattered. And then supporting her children in learning and her grandchildren in learning. I loved your description, Katja, of your grandmother exploring every inch of the garden, going out and just looking at every flower, at everything she was watching, both appreciating how much beauty there was, but also learning about every single flower that was there. You described her room as her having a pile of books that went from her bed all the way to the living room couch because she couldn't have it any other way. She needed to be surrounded by her books. She needed the newspaper and books next to her, because otherwise, how could she possibly be taking in all that she possibly could? When you said she didn't want to miss anything, that sounds as if that could be the catchword of her life. I don't want to miss anything. And she didn't. For Betty, knowing about anything meant taking it in ever more deeply. And with music ranging from classical music to Pete Seeger to klezmer, she loved it all. And art and literature and science, she loved it all. She was the pillar of Torah, of learning. And avodah and gemilut chasadim, service and loving kindness, they're so entwined in who Betty was that there is no doubt that she was upholding the world. She was the most kind, most positive, most genuine, most caring person imaginable. And this is not just after someone dies, you try to find something nice to say about them. This is 150% true. It is the essence of who she was. When Betty met Harry, you told me it didn't take long. He was a resident at the Cleveland Clinic, and they didn't have a lot, so they, would share a hot dog each day for lunch, which seemed to serve them well, and also began a real love of food for Betty. So, of course, as you said, she became a gourmet cook because, what was the question? But only 6 months after they met, they were married. And you described to me Harry saying, "Why do we have to wait? Why wait any longer?" And I'm sure, he knew who he'd found. He knew the great gift that Betty was. Why wait? Why not just get married? And their relationship was solid and loving. She stayed devoted to Harry long after his death. Betty knew how to love, how to be present, how to care. David and Diane, you were both so lucky. You both knew that your mother would be there for you, that she would take you to everything, even movies that might be a little beyond your age level, a tradition she apparently continued with the next generation, taking Katja as an 8-year-old to Saturday Night Fever. But when Katja had to tell Betty, I think this might be too old for me, she just wanted to open the whole world to all of you. How could you miss anything? You couldn't. You had to experience it all and be open to all of it. And Leah, when you said how wonderful a listener your grandmother was, it is so clear that you had a wonderful relationship with her. When you would just come to see her and hang out, it mattered so much to you, but it also mattered so much to her. She just loved having her grandson be there. And Katja, you described your grandmother to me not as a myth, but as an unsung hero. And I think in your story about her as a myth, you sang that heroism. She is now a sung hero, and she deserves it. And she deserves it. All of you David and Becky and Leo and Diane and Mark and Katja, you all felt so much love and acceptance and kindness from Betty, and you were all given a wonderful model of a woman always open to learning, of a woman always deeply moved by the beauty in the world every single day. A woman who knew how important it was to direct her own path in life and was profoundly supportive of your all doing the same. A woman whose deep love of music moved her to keep learning piano and moved her to opening learning of music to all of you. She felt such pride in your ability to create gorgeous music. She just loved it. A woman who dealt with challenges in life with grace and hope and acceptance and determination to get the most out of every day, even when her health created serious challenges. A woman who was so attentive to details, but who seemed to remember only the positive side, only the good ones. A woman who loved good political discussions and who had inherently progressive views of the world. A woman who still managed to love the beach, even though she was terrified of water. And you're right, as you said before, she wanted to see you learn to swim no matter how nervous it made her. She was determined that none of you would be stopped. And a woman who was able to laugh at challenges. Watching her laugh because she couldn't get in the elevator was a real lesson for me. There was no reason to feel bad. There was no reason to feel shame. There was no reason to feel sadness when one could just look at the positive, look at the bright side, accept the reality, thank everyone graciously, and laughed at the absurdity of the moment. Betty was so instrumental in holding up the world that it felt as if she would live forever, as if her smile and her joy and her beautiful countenance would always be there. And it was clear, if she could have, Betty would have kept on going. She didn't want to miss anything. She would have just kept on living. My hope is that her glorious spirit, that perfect embodiment of Torah, of study, of learning, of service, of gemilut chasadim, of loving kindness, will live on to everyone who knew and loved her. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Linda. That was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So was Betty. Right? So take a moment and hold memories that you have. Hold what you have in your heart right now. And if there is a story or a memory or something that jumps out at you now, unmute and share it.
Hello.
And introduce yourself first.
I'm sorry, I'm Jeff. We were introduced to my mom many years ago. And she, like everyone said, she's been so grateful. I remember that time when my mom was struggling to help me go back to school. And I knew where the extra financial help came from. To this very day, as I moved on and got married, she was determined to come to my wedding. I had no idea that she was so determined to come to Jamaica, and she did. And then we had a son, Isaiah, and she was so thrilled to see him. Every time I talked to her, she always wanted to know how was Isaiah doing. And you could hear how happy she was to actually see my son. And I never thought that this woman could touch somebody else's life the way she did for us. She surely will be missed. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff. That's so sweet. She loved all of you. And she loved traveling, as you know. So,
She didn't want to miss anything. She would not miss that. How wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jeff's mom, Ingrid, and I've known Betty for over 30 years, and she was a sweetheart. She would do anything for me and my family. She loved us. I helped out with her, but we became friends and part of the family. And she was an adorable person and a loving and kind person. And anything you asked, if I was having a hard time, she said, "Can I help?" And I would say, "No, I'm fine." And but that's what person she was. And I will sorely miss her a lot because we've been so close. And I went to see her right before COVID. And I was talking to her about Isaiah, and her whole face just lit up about Isaiah. And all his birthdays, between her and Diane, she would give us books for Isaiah to read. And when we took Isaiah to visit her, she loved it. She really loved visiting with him. And I thank you for having me part of your family, the Gottlieb family. Thank you so much. And I will truly miss her. Thank you.
thank you, Ingrid. You came into our lives when I was already an adult, but you made such a difference, both when my father was still alive and certainly as when she moved in with us, and particularly when she began to struggle. So you've been a wonderful friend, and I know you would have been in there more if they hadn't kept all of us out. I thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to? And introduce yourself first, because there are 3 screens, so everyone can't see you. They can just all hear you.
I don't know who's supposed to go first. I'm Tim Bardick. I've been friends with David since 8th grade at Germantown Friends, and I just want to second something that has been an underlying theme here. What I remember about Betty is from the very first time that David and I were friends, I used to hang out at their house, and I always got fed with something, as people have mentioned. She was so sincerely interested in me from very early on, a very intense interest. That is, I think, obviously people are sociable, people are friendly, people are interested. Betty was so interested in other people and what was going on with them. And that was a characteristic from the time I first met her, when I was just starting to become friends with David, until the last time I saw her, that she was so interested in you and what was going on with you. And that is a wonderful gift she gave other people.
Thank you.
I'd like to add one other comment to Tim's observation. I didn't know Betty very well, but I've known her for many, many years. I'm Diane's college friend. And a lot of people here have talked about her generosity and her curiosity and her lifelong learning. And Linda mentioned if you had an image of her. I didn't see her often, but we both happened to go to graduate school in the life sciences at the same time. So I would often see her at science meetings. And the image that I have of Betty, and it has stuck with me my whole life, 35 years, and it's because it's the same image I had when I very first met her. And that was, she was always running to me to greet me with open arms. And that was before she knew who I was and after she knew who I was for many years. So for me, Betty was all of the things you say, but mostly Betty was accepting. She was fiercely accepting. And that's a rare quality.
Thank you, Sharon and Tim. So such beautiful memories of her, and so true. And let's not
I would
forget
like,
the first time that she saw you, Sharon. You were followed by 9 brothers and sisters as we moved into our college dorm. The 3-year-old who could stand on her tippy toes without shoes.
And I don't know if you remember, but she talked to each one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they all had a lot to say.
As should be the case.
I'd like to say, this is Churchill. If anybody can see, this is Churchill. And the reason that I brought him up on my lap is because Betty and Churchill had a very, very special relationship. He wants to get down. I'll let him get down. He comes to my Center on the Hill class, Churchill. And he's very affectionate to all of the students. But he had a special relationship with Betty, and she with him. And I mean, she didn't even realize that he could not settle down and lie down to start the class till Betty arrived. And he always knew when she came, because since she was with the wheelchair and all that whoever was bringing her would take her right up to the door, which was next to the windows of our room. So that car would pull up. And as soon as the car pulled up, Churchill was at the door waiting for her. And as soon as she came in, and she would start to laugh and get sucked, because his greeting was so effusive. And he knew and understood that Betty was like the most important person in the room. And the other thing I have to say is that she was the center, the heart of that class. She sat directly in the middle of the class. Nobody ever took Betty's space. And she did not sit in her wheelchair. She came out of the wheelchair. She sat in her chair. She was a yoga student for 9 years. And she practically never missed a class. If she missed a class, it was because she couldn't get the ride. But her chair, if somebody came in who was new to the class and would start to sit in her chair, everybody would say, oh, no, that's Betty. That's Betty's chair, And she paid attention to each person in the class. She especially greeted new students. I never even knew her before she had the stroke. The first time ever that I met her was when our class was at Chestnut Hill Hospital, and Diane brought her in a wheelchair. And I thought, oh, I hope she can do some of the practices, because I didn't know, how and that she would get something out of the class. And that was the beginning of an incredible, incredible journey. And everyone in the class, we all benefited because of her presence in that class. And she fulfilled everything you all have said today, all the way through to the most delicate time of her life. And I am so honored that I was able to know her and to teach her and to practice with her and to meet all of you. So thank you for including myself, and some of our other students are in this group today too. So thank you for letting us join with you in honoring a really, really extraordinary person. Okay, all right.
This is Joel Gershenfeld. I'll share a story that actually goes back, beginning with Harry and my dad, Walt. They were both best friends growing up in South Philly. And Betty and my mom, Gladys, then had to become best friends because they were married to best friends. And of course, they were part of a whole mishpucha of folks that had grown up in South Philly that would gather in various ways. And later in life, after both my dad and Harry had died, my mom and Betty would still go to the orchestra, and they were buddies in the full sense of the word. But the thought that I want to share, and it's a memory that I'm sure David and Diane may be able to give the specifics, but I remember being invited over to their house years and years ago, in which there was artwork everywhere that we were all supposed to look at and see. And I don't even remember the details, but what I remember is Betty wanted to say something about every piece of artwork. And she just, whatever you looked at, she had something to say and was with enthusiasm. And there was this sense of both joy, enthusiasm, and focus all at once with every single piece that was, Betty, Diane, you may remember what it was, but it was literally down in the basement, upstairs, it was everywhere that there were things on display. And I just remember her almost like a whirling dervish going through the whole thing.
Well, I can tell you that when David and I were young, it was a relatively empty house. Things because they really, like Linda said, there was a hot dog a day when he was an intern and a resident. I think they were paid $30 a month back then. So, so it was a long time, before those things got accrued, and they were chosen, I think, carefully and with love, and by the two of them together, and with friends, on trips, as everybody has said. So hearing Jesse talk reminded me, and Jesse, you can probably speak to this better than I can. One of the wonderful trips Jesse arranged or mobilized my mother and Harriet Tobin for was to go see Pete Seeger 90th birthday concert at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
When I can't remember how long ago that was, but I think they were all in their 80s. Or somewhere close to that. Maybe not Harriet, because she was the youngster of the crowd. But and they took the train up. We were all petrified. They took the train up. They went to the concert, and as people have said, they of course brought back T-shirts, which Katja still wears. So, and I think they had a great time.
Can I take you back to when I punched your father in the stomach? So I was a kid, and my mom was training in medicine, and that's how we met Harry. And I sort of considered, since my mom was one of the only women, if not the only woman at the time, I considered all the guys around who played pool upstairs at Philadelphia General to be my property. I was about 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. And so the first time that I heard that Harry was engaged to somebody, I punched him in the stomach. So, but as soon as that was my giving affection, But as soon as I met your mom, Diane and David, I stopped doing that because she was so wonderful. And I can't tell you, I'm one of the people here who probably knew her the longest. Probably, what year were they married?
1952.
Wow.
Okay, so
June of
I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And, I knew them both, and yeah, so I really loved them, and I have this picture. It's in a frame. I took it out of the frame, but I've had this ever since the memorial service for your dad.
Yeah.
So I thought
I totally forgot that that's why you punched him.
Oh, yeah, because he wasn't waiting for me.
Totally forgot that piece. That's like the crucial piece of that story.
Crucial piece.
All
yes.
I remember was that you came up on roller skates and punched him.
I did that with a few of those people.
I didn't realize it was jealousy.
It was jealousy. Yeah.
That's great. Great.
It's great.
Hi. Are you done? So I'm Aunt Helen. I'm Katja, Mark, Diane's Katja's great aunt, Mark and Diane's aunt, and Nancy is there somewhere, and I'm her aunt. It's so nice to see all of you at this wonderful memorial. I mean, I can't believe the all the information that I've gotten on Betty that I didn't know about. I knew Betty for whenever Diane and Mark got married. We didn't really know each other until they moved in together, and I came down to visit. Well, came east. I'm in San Francisco, and the pictures I've seen of Betty today and on the Facebook page, just perfectly how I remember her. The radiance, the twinkle in her eyes. She was a huge presence in a very petite body. So when I would visit Philadelphia, we did so much stuff together. We would go shopping, of course. We would go to museums. And somebody mentioned if she bought something for me or she bought something, Katja sometimes went with us. And Diane, if she bought something for them, she would buy something for me. Wasn't even related to her. She would always, I have a pin that I love that I was just telling Chuck, my partner who's sitting here, that she gave me. Then when she had such a intellect, as everybody has mentioned. And we would sit, after she had her stroke, we would sit in the kitchen table at Diana Marks and Katja's home and her home and talk and talk and talk and eat whatever was in the refrigerator, because there was lots of stuff in the refrigerator and leftovers from every place, right? And I love Mark's story, by the way, of passing the food around. We were sitting, anyway, and I would think of her when I play the piano because I came back to it too late, although I don't think I played as well as she did. So we never left each other without saying, I love you, and I do, and I will miss her terribly.
Thank you. Is there someone else who'd like to share something? So
I think I would.
Okay, great, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandria Eskridge, friend of the family. My deepest condolences from my family to yours. I had the privilege and honor of knowing Betty. I'm just gonna let you know, I called her Bubby. She, in many ways, because I didn't have grandparents of my own, kind of stood in a way as a surrogate for me at a time where I was dating her wonderful grandson. And I'll just tell you a brief little anecdote, maybe even two, very brief, about my time getting to know Betty. So it's Arm again, Bubby. So first story is, again, this family wasn't prepared for it. They can eat. They love to eat. I am not necessarily a salad girl, but I was not prepared for the undertaking that was, going to Charcoal. Wonderful restaurant. We get there. I'm seated. I believe she's to my left. And they're all looking at the menu, and I've already decided I'm going to have like this little thing, and that's going to be it. And everyone's looking at the menu just as I have, and they're like, we're just going to take the whole left side of this menu, and then we're going to move over, and we're going to get, and I'm saying, wait, like I'm counting us, and I'm like, those are large plates. Those are small plates. That's the whole menu. And I'm thinking, is there another party that's going to join us? And I think I said that under my breath, but loud enough for her to say, yes, all of it is for us. And I like looked over and I was like, what? And I mean, I had just met her on that day. So I was thinking, how is this even gonna, looking at the table, how's this all gonna fit on the table? Also, how are we all gonna eat this food? So I'm like, the food comes out, we're sitting there, everyone's, doling it out, passing it, as Mark pointed out, everyone pass it along, take your fill. And I'm taking a little bit. And I think she had like, people were giving her food. And then she looked over and she said, is that all? And I like, looked like, what? And she was like, take more. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to just move it. She said, that's really good. Take more. And I was like, okay. So I'm like piling up my plate. And she's like, actually, before you pass it, give me more. I was like, okay. So I just like start giving her more food. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is very different from what I'm accustomed to. And my takeaway from that moment was, it was just a very warm and, familiar space, not only for these people, but as someone who was a newcomer, I could also feel that vibe very instantly. And even in like those eating habits, it became something as I would have the pleasure of going out with the family. It became very second nature to me. I'm not accustomed to eating that way, but when in Rome, and Betty made you feel very at ease. So later on that day, I think we had just ordered dessert. And I was going to go to the restroom. And she said, I'll join you. And I said, oh, okay. So I go in the restroom, we're going to the restroom. She's behind, she's in tow. And it was one of those interesting things because we had been talking and it almost felt like I was with a friend, not the grandmother, my boyfriend. When we get to the bathroom, how girls, gab and everything. And she also had to use the facilities. So what I didn't realize is that's a bit of an undertaking for someone in her condition. But we were so in the throes of talking and everything, I'm assisting her as she's going to the bathroom. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm so at ease with her. I've only just met this woman. And, I'm helping her. And it becomes so organic. And I'm thinking, it's almost like something out of a sitcom. You're talking to someone, you're helping them. And I'm like, wow, I'm really comfortable with her. So from that moment on, if I were to go to Diane and Mark's house, it might be a little late at night. She was sitting on the couch watching television. And I always asked her, what are you still doing up? And she would say, living. And I would say, I got you. I'm like, what are we watching right now? And she said, no idea. And I said, it looks like Law and Order. And she's like, which one? I'm like, I don't know. There's like 20 of them. And we would sit down and we would just watch. It was just a very strange, but I think very familiar and welcoming vibe I always got with her. And, when you encounter a multi-generational brood, I'm being honest, you don't quite know how you'll be received. It's always like a mixed bag. As with everything in life, you don't quite know what you're going to encounter. And as with the whole family, but especially with Betty, it felt very, welcoming. And it was always, every time she saw me, she'd say, what happened today? How was your day? And it'd be late at night. I'm like, aren't you tired? She's like, no, I can talk. And we would sit down and we would just talk. And it was just very, like if I had had a grandmother who had lived as long as she did, I would have loved to have maybe had a glimmer of the relationship and just the openness and then willingness to like bring you in. I would have loved to have had that with a grandmother. So, I mean, not to say I didn't date him for him, but I always loved the opportunity to see Bubby and just, pick her brain and talk late at night and watch, one of those SVU shows, basically veg out on the couch. So that was my little spiel. I didn't think I could leave this wonderful gathering without, sharing my thoughts. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Alexandria. That was quintessential Betty.
I know. And I'm thankful for learning. I mean, I knew Leo got his voracious, love of education from somewhere, though some things now make a lot more sense when it comes to, the love of education and, just that need and desire to thrive and learn more, and feeling there's never a moment where you can't learn more, or, there isn't something to discover in life. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Hi.
is there another, I hear a voice?
Hi, I'm Teresa. That was Betty's piano teacher. And I just have to say, I'm so blessed and fortunate to have known her and to have shared music with her. I was so glad to be able to see her in the rehab only maybe a week before the lockdown. And I'll just remember that even though that she wasn't obviously the best of health then, it was just a sweet time to be with her. It was a sweet time to share music with her weekly. And Diane, you never got that chair ready for her the way she wanted the chair. Every week we would discuss, yes, the chair will be changed. Yes, Diane will look into a better chair. Just about her tenacity.
Chairs. What are you talking about? I
just
never
about
got
her
the chair right. You're right about that.
just about her tenacity in learning. I mean, she, no matter what piece I put in front of her, even if it was technically maybe too hard, and I used to think, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I'll give her a little easier piece because that would be, more helpful. She'll enjoy it more. No, she didn't want that. She wanted something that was going to be a challenge, and it was going to take time to learn. And even with her hands arthritic, she would go arpeggios up and down, and I'd say, well, Betty, you can do them 2 octaves. No, 4 octaves. I'll go up and down the whole keyboard. And that was what she was. She was just such a learned person and just so loving of music that I enjoyed every moment I was with her, and I miss her terribly. That's it.
You did so much for her. I miss you too.
Thanks.
This is Julius. Could I talk?
Yes, please do, Julius.
Well, everything that the young lady just said, I have to second in so many ways. I was never, ever in your mother's presence that it wasn't just enjoyable. I would have, once she couldn't come to the salon anymore, and I would come to the house to cut her hair, it was always a visit. It was never just, I cut her hair. We sat, we talked about anything that she felt like or anything that I felt like. She always asked me about Marcia. And, it was just so much fun to serve her. Your whole family, it's really interesting. In many cases, I would have clients that were the daughters of my clients. Like the mother would bring the daughter, but in this case, it was Diane that brought Betty to me. She also brought Mark and Katja, and I know the whole family. The whole family came in the salon. David and his family, and the star of the family, though, was always Betty. People have alluded to the fact that her eyes were bright. She was always lit up. She was a small woman, but she really did dominate a room just with her presence from the first time she walked in. As a matter of fact, strangely enough, she reminds me of my grandmother, who looked very similar to her and had very white curly hair, just like that, and also was a very kind and loving person. So it was one of the reasons I really enjoyed seeing Betty, spending time with Betty, cutting Betty's hair. And she always let me have carte blanche, whatever I wanted to do. So I never did give her the mohawk. She had thought about maybe it was a thing to try because she tried everything. But I just have to thank you for having such a wonderful mother, and I'm so glad that I knew her. And I'm going to have to say goodbye for now because I have some things I have to do. But thank you for giving me this opportunity. And all of you people are wonderful people. And it's a reflection on why you're here. It's because you knew a wonderful woman. We all did. And we all are a little bit wonderful ourselves because of it. Thank you again. So I'm going to sign off.
Thanks, Julius.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So I think maybe what we'll do, if this is okay, you should shake your head no if it's not okay. But I would think we'd say Mourner's Kaddish, which is the Jewish memorial prayer in memory of Betty. I'll put it up on the screen. And then that would end the formal part of this memorial. But anyone who wants to stay on and talk and share, you can stay on and have a conversation for as long as you like. But we can end the formal piece, and then anyone who would like to talk can certainly keep talking. Yes? Okay. Okay. So let's see if I can find Kaddish. Yes. And I have to make it a little bigger because not so easy. So Kaddish is actually right for Betty because it's the Jewish memorial prayer, but the words have nothing to do with mourning or death or sadness. They are hopeful and positive and words of praise and looking forward to a world of peace. Yitgadal v'yitkadash v'yama divrach yeruteh v'yamlich balchuteh b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba me omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei barechu liela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May Betty rest in peace. May her memory be a blessing.
Amen.
So I will, I'm going to pass make you host, Diane. And then anyone who wants to stay and talk is welcome to stay and talk for as long as you like.
Yes, we would love that. We'd love to talk to whoever can hang around or wants to hang around. Thank you so much, Linda, and everybody for your participation. It's so good to see all these people that I haven't seen in a while. Especially since we really haven't seen people in a while because of the pandemic.
Thing, yeah.
Are we the host? So it just said, are we?
Yeah. All right.
Okay. How is everybody?
Yeah.
Teresa, thank you for those kind words about Mom. It was very sweet. Ah, there we go.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Ruthie.
Bye,
Ruth.
Oh, bye, Ruthie. Are you leaving?
Mwah.
Okay. See you
Love
later.
you.
You're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Bye.
Bye, Diane. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Ingrid. Great to see you, Ingrid.
Oh, good.
Thanks so much.
Bye, Ruthie.
Bye-bye. Be well, everybody.
Yes, you too. Stay well. Good to see you. Bye, Nancy. Hey, Gina. I'm so glad you made it.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm sorry it was so hard.
Oh, it's not your fault. I was looking through the Rolodex and
wow.
my mother has the world's biggest Rolodex.
Of course, of course. It's so wonderful to see everyone.
Yeah, it is lovely to see you. And Lee, thank you for coming. And Gordon, and I assume Carol's there. Thank you. And Elizabeth, I saw her earlier. And Carol Gold. And
Carol Gold, say hi, Carol.
yes, and Vivian. And Kate. And Lizzie.
Thanks for coming.
It's so good to see you all.
I kept
Can I
thinking
say-
about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
May I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to tell you that I was at your parents' wedding. I was a little girl, and I remember their happiness, and they were always wonderful to me. And your mother always showed great respect for my mother, and my mother thought so highly of her.
I know we love Lillian, and that's true. I think you were one of the youngest people. How old were you then?
I think I was about 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think you were one of the. It was you
At
and
your parents' wedding.
yeah, you and a ring bearer. I think you were the youngest at the wedding.
Thank you for thinking of me. I just have wonderful memories of your mom.
She loved you guys.
I would like to make contact with you over the phone later this week.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk to you.
And it's wonderful to see Katya.
So nice. We hope your girls are doing well too.
Yes, and I'll catch you up on everything. You take care. I am going to have to get off now.
Okay.
Thank you for including me.
Thanks for coming, Vivian. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I am so glad I could be there. Thank you for the wonderful memories. And Mark did a fabulous job with all those memories and photos. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You did.
Bye.
Diane and David, I'll add one little memory of your mother. This goes along with the theme of loving food and being accepting. When the Huttos lived in South Carolina, this is Becky's parents and my wife's parents, David and Becky and Leo brought Mrs. Gottlieb to South Carolina, either for Thanksgiving or the Christmas holiday, I'm not sure which. And after a couple of days of leftovers, this was my scheme, but we took Betty to a place called Duke's Barbecue in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'll bet not too many in this crowd have been to Duke's Barbecue in Orangeburg or any place like it, but Betty had plenty of food. She enjoyed herself and she had her usual smile and twinkle in her eyes. She told me she liked the food. A lot of meats are offered and vegetables. The vegetables there are not lightly sauteed. They're well cooked. So I thought it would be fun to take this very intelligent, highly sophisticated lady from Philadelphia to Duke's, and she enjoyed herself as we knew she would. So.
My mother enjoys all cuisines.
Lots of them.
So thank you for expanding her horizons further. And you were probably better at finding good barbecue than we were, even all those years in North Carolina. It's so good to hear everybody. Jesse, I'm so glad that you were able to speak. If you're still there, they may have left.
Lewis is still there.
She's gone.
She's gone.
No, she's in the other room chatting with me.
She's
gone.
Don't say that.
So
It's a very tenuous thing to say.
this is my question. If it's a Zoom service,
I got it.
do you still have to provide us fish? Fair's fair here.
I know. That's the thing. You missed the whole meal part. My mother would not like this. On the other hand,
I have been to Duke's Barbecue.
oh, there you go. Oh, that's true. You spent a lot of time in that neck
I've
of
been
the
to every barbecue place in the Carolinas practically.
I
Every
believe-
well-known one. Melton's, Lexington Barbecues 1, 2, and 3. I love barbecue.
Well, that was a good place for it. Well, the good news is we could have people from all over the country. So that's the advantage. The disadvantage is you don't get a meal, and we don't get, which my mother would have been horrified at probably.
Lizzie, I know you got interrupted before. If you want to jump in, you just
Oh,
gotta
yes.
push your way in.
No, it's okay. I'm like, didn't want to talk in front of quite everybody because I'm sure plenty of people knew her a lot better than I did. But some of the things that other people said really reflected what I kept thinking about, which is just that she really was like a very like nurturing, surrogate bubby for all of us. I lived, far away from my grandparents. And so sometimes they could come to Grandparents' Day, but for sure I attached myself to you guys a lot of those years and always felt very welcomed. And it was, just so nice that every time I went over to your house too, it was like all of you, it was just such a really close-knit, wonderful, family environment. So yeah, holding all of you guys really close. And I know that this has not been easy, but it's been wonderful to be able to hear more about her too. And like her life was just absolutely incredible. I didn't realize all of those things that she's done and challenges she's taken on. So, and I can very clearly see the through lines to all of you and your wonderful taste in food and music and art. And she's clearly blessed the world not only through herself but through all the people that she created.
So sweet. And there's definitely was enough puppy to go around.
Oh my God, she loved having you be part of our Grandparents' Day. Completely. Oh, I was thinking about when we went to like some, like I think pumpkin something or like, and she was like,
oh, a pumpkin
yeah,
picking?
and she was like walking around with all of us.
Oh, there was one time she went out with you where you got bitten by a bee.
Yeah, I got stung by a bee.
Yeah, and she was horrified.
Yeah.
Worried about your safety.
Yeah, it was like the one moment she left to go to the bathroom.
Right, that's right. She had gone away for 2 seconds.
And I'm going to leave.
All right.
David, nice seeing you sort of under better circumstances.
I really appreciate you getting Jesse there. And
you don't know how much you should appreciate me.
Oh, I bet I do. I bet I do, actually.
We slept Betty around for years.
Oh my God.
Should we call
it? Whatever. Hey, Helen.
Am I muted or unmuted? Yeah, okay.
Hi, Teresa.
Yeah, hi. Okay, 2 things about food and music. So I would come in for the piano lesson. She'd be sitting there, and first thing she would ask is, "How was your weekend?" Because we had Monday lessons, and I'd go on about a little bit, and I'd say, "Well, Betty, how was your weekend?" "Well, let me show you." And under the stack of music, she would whip out the program that David was in, the latest program, and show me. She was just so proud of every time you played, and she made sure that she was there. Really? And then when say another weekend went by, and she asked me again, what did you do? And I did this, I did that. And I said, "Okay, Betty, what did you do?" She goes, "We went to this wonderful restaurant." And again, she would go into the pack of music. She had kept them on the side and whip out a menu from the place and show it to me. And I just remember laughing. It was just so funny that she held on to these things because they were such precious memories for her.
They were.
And that she loved her children and just love the time that she spent with you.
It's true.
So I'm going to go. I'll be in touch.
Thank you,
Teresa.
So
Bye bye.
Thanks for,
Good to hear you.
Good to hear you too.
thanks for coming.
Look at that cute little
Okay.
puppy.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Wait, who?
We're
Hello.
talking about Ella.
We're gonna go, we haven't eaten, so we're gonna go and eat lunch.
Oh, good. Go do that. It's
Lunch.
good to see you. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this. It means a lot.
Yeah, and Chuck was here too.
I know, we saw him.
Yeah.
We could see him.
Send him my
Thank you,
love.
Chuck, for coming and celebrating my mom.
Yeah, well, my pleasure.
He met her. Oh, yeah, he met her.
We've known her. We didn't know her.
He never met her?
We never
Oh,
went.
wow, that's right, because she would, by the time you were together, she wasn't traveling.
That's right. That's right. And I
You
didn't.
guys were going to come here, and then the pandemic happened.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. So
oh, that's
hopefully
sad.
we'll see you sooner than later. Don't know when I'm traveling right now, but
Okay,
yeah,
we'll have to figure that out.
figure that out because I miss you all.
Yeah, we miss seeing you too.
Yeah, I do. Love you.
Bye. Thanks for coming. Where'd Daddy?
He's gone. Oh, and he just disappeared. I think the
I went to the, I'm in the bathroom, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Juliet. Oh,
Okay.
oh, Lizzie left.
Yeah.
My friend left. Oops. Oh.
Thanks for
Hi,
coming,
Katie. Are you in your new house? Wait, you have to.
You're muted.
Yeah.
I loved your.
Look at
I
the
loved.
puppy.
Oh,
He's so cute.
oh my God, he's such a sweetie. He
He's
likes
such
his
a
new
sweetie.
house.
Yeah. Yeah. He's loving it.
Very nice. I'm so glad you guys live close by.
Oh my
I
God.
know you're enjoying your nice new space.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for making it accessible.
I know, it was nice that it was acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately, it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Should we say?
I think we should say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye. Love you.
Take care.
David, we'll see you in a minute.
Bye.
So,
We're going to end it. Bye, Katie.
Bye, Katie.
Bye, Tom. Wherever
Pluto was sleeping here